North shore of a lake in central Italy. A Roman army of 30,000 men is marching into a wall of fog it cannot see through. And in the next 3 hours, every one of them will be killed, drowned, or dragged off as slaves. It is the largest ambush ever sprung in the history of war. They have already walked into it. They just don't know it yet.
We're blind in this. I can't see the high ground on our right at all. Let me send riders up before we go any deeper.
And lose another hour while he runs? His campfires are right there ahead of us. Keep the column moving.
His name is Gaius Flaminius, consul of Rome. He is certain he is chasing a beaten enemy who is running from him somewhere in the fog ahead. He is wrong about nearly everything: the direction, the danger, and the man he is chasing. "3 hours from now, this army will not exist." To understand how 30,000 Romans walked into the most perfect trap ever laid, we have to go back to the spring after the Trebia, to one reckless gamble, and the swamp that took Hannibal's eye to make it work. After his victory at the Trebia that winter, Hannibal's hardest problem was his own army. The Gauls had joined him for one reason: to drive Rome out of their lands. Every day Hannibal sat still was a day he wasn't delivering on that promise. And 17,000 men who came for liberation, not sitting still, were costing him Gallic loyalty with every passing week. But Hannibal wasn't the only one under pressure. Rome had answered the Trebia the only way it knew how. 2 new consuls, 2 fresh armies, sent north to finish him. One held the eastern road, the other, under Gaius Flaminius, held the west, and in its ranks stood 10,000 survivors of the Trebia, men who had already run from Hannibal once. Both roads south ran through narrow ground where the 2 consuls could meet and crush him between them.
Both passes are watched. Whichever road we take, they know before we're through it, and the second consul marches to meet the first. Then we don't take a road. There's the march. Now, the Arno floods this time of year. Nobody guards water they think can't be crossed. Because it can't. We'd lose men in there for nothing. We'd lose men. We would not lose the army. And we'd come out behind them both, between their armies and Rome, where no line is waiting for us. We go through the march.
It was a gamble as reckless as crossing the Alps, and it began to cost him almost at once. 4 days and 3 nights in the flooded dark, men lost to drowning and fever.
The Gauls at the rear are dropping. If we don't halt, we'll lose hundreds more by morning.
If we halt in this, we lose all of them. There's no ground to stop on here. So we don't stop!
The pack animals swallowed in the mud, and the sight in one eye was gone.
To save the eye, I need you off this elephant and still for a day.
I don't have a day. Wrap it and leave it.
Hannibal came through it half blind, and the eye, like everything the marsh had taken, was the price for the one thing that mattered. He came out into the rich country of Etruria, behind the entire Roman line. 50,000 men, and not one Roman scout had seen him move. For days, Rome still believed he was trapped in the north. They had no idea Hannibal was already standing in their own backyard.
You there. Rome can't see what's behind her right now. But you want to make videos like this one? Meet today's sponsor, Flashloop.
It's an AI video app with the best models in one place. Pick the right one for any scene, write a prompt, even start from a first frame like I do. Say, Romans fighting Gauls, and watch it come to life in seconds. Go to flashloop.app/bannerlore and use code LEGION for free bonus credits. Link in the description. Hannibal rested his men and sent his Numidian riders out across the country to learn the ground and the enemy. They came back fast.
The consul Flaminius is at Arretium, behind us. The plain ahead is fat cattle, villages, no real defense. And the man? What kind of consul is he? Loud, loved by the mob, won his name fighting Gauls. And they say he hates to wait, and hates worse to be made to look small. Good. Then I won't fight him. I'll embarrass him.
It was a deliberate insult aimed like a weapon. Hannibal turned his army loose on the rich country south of Arretium, the road to Rome itself, and set Etruria on fire, village after village, field after field, daring Flaminius to come out and stop him. But the fires were only half the plan. Hannibal made certain his Gauls knew exactly whose land they were marching toward. Flaminius had built his career breaking Gallic tribes, passing the law that planted Roman settlers on their soil, then taking more of it by the sword. The 17,000 Gauls in Hannibal's army had not forgotten a single acre of it.
You know the name Flaminius. You know whose fathers he drove off their land. He's one day behind us at Arretium. Rome sent him to kill you. I will give him to you instead.
In Arretium, the mood was the opposite. Tense, divided, quiet.
It would be wiser to wait for Severius. 2 conspal armies against him, not one.
I can see Etruria burning from my own wall. People I'm sworn to protect. And you want me to sit behind this gate and count the fires?
I want you to fight him when the numbers are ours, not his. Severius is coming.
Servilius is days away.
For the moment, Flaminius held. But Hannibal couldn't afford to wait on a Roman's temper. He had no idea how close the second consul might be. Servilius could appear over the horizon any day. So he did the thing that should have been madness.
If we march deeper south now, we leave 2 consul armies at our back. If they join while we're strung out on the road, then I'd rather choose the ground than have them choose it for me. We don't wait for Flaminius to find his courage. We make him chase us. A man who chases doesn't look where he's putting his feet.
So Hannibal drove his whole army deeper south, putting himself squarely between Flaminius and Rome, ignoring Flaminius completely, as if he weren't worth the trouble of a fight. It was the one insult the consul could not swallow.
He's moving. Flaminius broke camp at dawn. The whole army coming on fast down the burning trail.
How close?
A day. Less if he holds that pace.
Ride ahead and scout the ground.
The hook was set. Now Hannibal just needed the right ground to close the trap. And up ahead, the road was about to run him straight into it. The place ahead was Lake Trasimene. The road ran along the northern shore, water on one side, a ring of steep wooded hills on the other, a tight pass at each end, a perfect killing ground. His plan was built around the ground itself. At the far end of the valley, across the road, blocking the only way out, he set his best men. The African and Iberian veterans, likely held by his brother, Mago, an anvil that would not move, whatever crashed into it. Along the whole slope above the road, he hid the Gauls, rank after rank, back in the trees. They would wait until the Roman column was fully inside, pinned between the water and the hills, and then pour down into its flank. At the entrance, he placed Maharbal and the cavalry. The moment the Roman rear filed past, they would swing shut behind it. Then came the details that made it work. No fires on the heights, no voices, No man on the skyline. Tonight the hills had to look empty. Tomorrow they would be full, and Flaminius could never be allowed to see the difference. And far past the end of the valley, out of reach, he lit campfires. Let the Romans see smoke ahead. Let them think the Carthaginians were still running. It all rested on one man's temper.
We camp here!
If Flaminius sent scouts up the slopes, a single glance would end it. But Hannibal had read him. He was angry, and he was behind. And angry men in a hurry look straight ahead.
Consular, the birds won't feed, the standard won't lift, and now this. The gods are telling us to wait. Don't march today.
The gods. The chickens aren't hungry, so Rome should let her fields burn? Pull the standard or dig it out, I don't care which. We march.
Roman writers would remember those omens for centuries. The chickens, the stuck standard, the fall, because of what came right after them. Flaminius brushed every one aside. He had a war to win, and an enemy he was certain was running away in front of him. At dawn, the head of the Roman column files onto the dirt track along the lake's northern shore, where the road narrows to a thin line between water and hills. Ahead, far down the valley, Hannibal's fires are still burning, and Flaminius reads them exactly as he's meant to. The enemy is camped at the far end, waiting. He drives the army forward and sends no scouts into the heights. He's sure there's nothing there to find.
Let them come closer. When they are within reach, we charge.
Let no one break through.
For a few heartbeats, only the front was fighting. The head of the column locked against the African wall, while everyone behind them was still just marching. Then Hannibal gave the signal, and the whole length of the hills came down at once. The collision at the head had lasted just long enough to pull the entire army onto the road. The blow came from the flank, all at once, against an army still strung out in a marching column. No line formed, no room to deploy, nowhere to turn. The Gauls smashed into the center, and as the first Romans turned to fall back the way they'd come, the cavalry swept across the road and sealed it behind them.
The road's closed! They're behind us! The road is closed!
Within minutes, the Roman army wasn't an army anymore. They had understood the trap the instant the hills came down. There was nothing left to realize. What the sealed road took from them was the last thing they had: a way out. For the men in that valley, the whole war had just shrunk to the few feet of ground they were standing on.
Form on me! Shields up! Backs together!
But discipline only worked where men could hear an order. And in that fog, with that noise, almost no one could. The fighting was so total that, according to the ancient sources, a strong earthquake struck the region during the battle, toppling buildings in nearby towns, and not one man on that field even felt it. It had never really been a battle. This was an ambush that became a killing. The column was shattered in the first minutes, and the slaughter that followed ran for close to 3 hours. Pushed back against the water, thousands tried to escape into the lake itself. Weighed down by their armor, many drowned. Polybius tells us that some who managed to stay afloat and begged for mercy were cut down where they were. Closer to the road, the Roman center pulled itself together and made a hard stand, and held, somehow, for 2 more hours. The guard closed around Flaminius and held for as long as it could. It wasn't long.
That's him! That's Flaminius!
The consul went down on the field, and the Roman center lost the one man it was still forming around. After that, the resistance fell apart for good. The sources say the Gauls savaged Flaminius's body so badly that when the fighting ended, Hannibal, who searched for it to send back for burial, never found it. The man who had ridden out at dawn, certain he was chasing a beaten enemy, was simply gone, lost in the wreck of his own army. But at the far end of the valley, where the column had first hit the wall, a few thousand Romans were still alive and still fighting to get out. They cut their way clean through it and escaped up into the hills. It bought them exactly 1 day. Surrounded the next morning out of food and out of options, they surrendered to Hannibal's cavalry. Almost none of them ever saw home again. At least 15,000 lay dead. Most of the rest were prisoners. Hannibal's own losses were light and fell hardest on the Gauls who had charged down the slope. No general before him, and almost none since, had ever done what he had just done. One whole army had ambushed and destroyed another whole army, complete. On the field, prisoners are sorted into 2 long lines, Romans to one side, Italian allies to the other.
I didn't cross the Alps to make war on you. Go home. Tell your cities the truth. Hannibal's quarrel is with Rome, not with you. Let them go. No ransom.
It wasn't mercy, it was strategy. By freeing Rome's Italian allies and keeping only the Romans, Hannibal was planting a question in every allied city in Italy, one that would matter far more in the end than any single battle. Whose war is this, really? And whose side should we be on? And the plunder rearmed his army. Hannibal had his infantry throw away their worn gear and take up the captured Roman equipment, the mail, the helmets, the heavy oval scutum. The men who had just destroyed a Roman army would now march out of that valley looking like one. But the lake was not the only blow Hannibal struck that week. Even now, a second Roman force was riding hard toward Trasimene, and it had no idea it was already too late. The other consul, Servilius, was already marching west to link up with Flaminius, and, not yet knowing Flaminius was dead, he had sent 4,000 cavalry racing ahead under the propraetor Gaius Centenius to reach him faster. Hannibal learned that column was on the road before the Romans even learned they had lost a battle.
4,000 horse, alone, with no idea their consul is dead. Take them before they hear the news. Don't let one rider turn back to warn Severius.
Maharbal rode out with cavalry and spearmen and caught Centenius near Assisi, about 20 miles from the lake. Half the Roman horse were killed in the first attack. The rest were run down onto a hill and forced to surrender within a day. Servilius himself, still marching from the east, never reached the fight, and his main army survived intact. But it was now the only field army Rome had left, and Servilius, shaken by how completely his cavalry had simply vanished, would not risk it in the open. Within weeks, his command, too, would be handed to the one man Rome was about to raise above them all. There was no speech, no softening, just the plain fact, because there was nothing else to give. 2 consular armies broken in barely 6 months, 1 consul dead, and the last one left, now backing away from open battle. And Trasimene was close enough that, to the people in that forum, there seemed to be nothing left at all between Hannibal and the gates of Rome.
We have fought him twice in the open and lost 2 armies. We cannot afford a third. We need 1 man, 1 command, and time. I say we name a dictator.
For the first time in living memory, Rome reached for its oldest emergency. The Senate handed the entire war to a single man, Quintus Fabius Maximus, to do what 2 consular armies in barely 6 months had failed to do. Simply stop Hannibal from winning. Rome's answer was a dictator who refused to give Hannibal a battle at all, and for a while, it even worked. But you cannot refuse Hannibal forever. A year later, Rome would stop trying. On a field called Cannae, Rome gathered the largest army it had ever sent into a single battle, well over 80,000 men, and threw all of it at Hannibal at once. By nightfall, most of them were dead. It is still remembered as the bloodiest single day in the history of Rome, and the most perfect battle ever fought. Watch it now.